All right, in this one I want to talk about a little bit about one of the most interesting games that came out during the last 5 years, because it was, I think this came out in 2020. Yeah, we were in full, you know what, and yeah, this was a big surprise and a nice surprise because I honestly never thought we will ever get a sequel to Streets of Rage, because as we all know, Sega seems to have completely forgotten about the other franchises that are not Yakuza or Sonic for some reason. So it was definitely a nice surprise when they announced this game that was developed by, not by them of course, but by some other studio. So I mean, it doesn't really matter. As long as the game is good, it's okay. And so here we are with Streets of Rage 4. What to say? I'll talk about it in terms of various aspects. Also, I'll do a few comparison with the remake, Streets of Rage remake, which came out years ago, and of course with Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3, because I mean, this one is the perspective of a guy who has played all the Streets of Rage. Even though it was a bit of years ago, I did play all of them, and of course I have my favorites, like everybody. So let's start. The game, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the story, because I mean, even if it's very inconsequential, I feel the need to mention it. Streets of Rage 4 takes place 10 years after Streets of Rage 3. Now Mr. X is dead for good, and you'll have to face its children, the Y or Epsilon twins. And that's it pretty much. There are also a few newcomers in terms of new characters, and it's mostly Cherry, which is Adam's daughter, and Floyd, which is, I mean, supposedly a student of Dr. Zanz from Streets of Rage 3. Adam also comes back, because the only time he was playable ever, I think, was in Streets of Rage 1. So he comes back as playable. You'll have to unlock it, but he comes back as playable in this one. And yeah, I mean, there's a good variety in terms of characters, definitely. Very good roster. Because usually beat 'em ups like this one don't have many playable characters, but this has a lot, because you'll also have the possibility to play as the old characters incarnations. So the characters from Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3, which is definitely, I mean, a welcome addition, because it's almost like that feature in Street Fighter 2 Anniversary that allowed you to select all the previous Street Fighter 2 versions of the various characters. And this is a very similar thing. You just have to unlock all of them. The only thing is that the Streets of Rage 1 characters are feel a little bit limited, because they don't have special moves like other characters have, for example. They only have the stars moves. So they feel a little bit limited in that sense. But other than that, it's definitely, I can't complain. It's a very good roster. It rivals some even like other fighting games, proper fighting games, 1v1, like Street Fighter, for example, or Mortal Kombat, in terms of number, of sheer raw number. The only character that doesn't come back is Ash from Streets of Rage 3. But honestly, I always thought Ash was a dumb character because he never really fit in the series, in my opinion. It was just a dumb caricature. So I do agree. Even though probably the devs didn't include him for a different reason. But I'm not gonna get into that. I just think he's a dumb character. So I in this sense, I do agree. So, because I mean, you can argue, well, Rue, the kangaroo with the gloves, is also a dumb character. I think Rue fits more this context because he reminds me of the kangaroo from Tekken. Tekken also had a raptor with gloves, but I think they were the same character, just different skins. And a couple different moves, but yeah. So I think this type of character fits the Streets of Rage universe, since it was also in Tekken, for example. And in terms of archetypes, if I had to give like a Street Fighter equivalent to make you understand how they play, because I personally mostly play, so this review will mostly feature Axel in the footage and sometimes Shiva, but very rarely, because those are my two are the two characters I play. Actually, I mostly play Axel now. I used to play Shiva more because he was way stronger before, but he got a bit nerfed now, and I don't know, it just doesn't feel as fun to me as he used to be. He was a bit busted before, but I think it's okay for a boss character to be a bit busted. But they decided to nerf it. But yeah. So like I said, my main character is Axel, and my side character is Shiva. But if I had to give like Street Fighter equivalents for the main roster to let you understand how they play, I would say that Adam and Axel are your most straightforward characters in the game. So think of them as the Ryu and Ken of this game. Like if we compare them with Street Fighter, think of Ryu and Ken. Shiva is probably, I would say, the Akuma equivalent, because he has a lot of tools and mobility. Blades is Chun-Li. It's pretty technical character. Cherry, I will say, it's a bit like Cammy. Very mobile, decent damage. Estelle, which is actually Estelle is one of the new characters. See, I forgot. Yeah, she's a new character, another new character. She's a bit like Rolento, I would say. She's a police woman. She's also another boss character that is unlockable. And she's a police woman. It's funny because Estelle is kind of a reference to how Axel, Blaze, and Adam were in Streets of Rage 1. Even is one of her star moves is her calling reinforcements like the characters used to do in Streets of Rage 1. So it's a nice reference. And yeah, she's a pretty cool character. I like her. I like her aesthetics as well. Max also comes back from Streets of Rage 2. He's also unlockable. Because he's a boss character in this one as well. And I would say Max is probably your Zanziv. It's a pretty heavy grappler. Then there's Floyd. Floyd, I would say, he reminds me of Alex from Street Fighter 3 and 5. Then who else? I think I mentioned everybody. Now, I did say before that the Streets of Rage 1 characters were a little bit limited in this one, and I mean, it's true. because they followed a different approach in this game compared to, for example, the Streets of Rage remake, which gives even like previous characters, like the Streets of Rage 1 characters, special moves, which is something that this one doesn't. So I would say Streets of Rage remake is less faithful in this sense, but also makes those characters a little bit more playable overall, because it gives them tools that are comparable to the other characters, so special moves and so on. Now, in terms of gameplay, this game, in terms of gameplay, follows a very similar philosophy to Streets of Rage 2. Mostly in terms of how the specials work, because they use your health, but they don't exactly deplete your health, because they use your health, but you can recover the health that is used by the specials, as long as you don't get hit, because your health will become green the more you use specials, and you can replenish the green bar by just hitting enemies with normal attacks, so attacks that are not specials, that don't deplete your life bar, which is an in-between, because Streets of Rage 2 use your life bar. Like, if you used the special, your life bar was gone, you couldn't recover it, and so this allows you to keep using specials even if your life bar is relatively depleted, almost depleted fully, because you can do specials in this game even if as long as you have more than one, the value 1 on your life bar, you can do a special. So even if you don't have the full requirement of health that will take to perform a special, you can do it as long as you have more than one regular health, so non-green health. Which is, I mean, it definitely fits the philosophy they were going with, because the game is very... you will be very reliant on your special in this game, because there's a lot of enemies on screen. The enemies are fast, and there's a lot of them, especially on higher difficulties. And this is something on higher difficulties that I don't really like, to be real with you, because I think overall the game is very enjoyable, but the problem is that when the screen is full of enemies, you'll find yourself, at least with the characters I use, I don't know if with other characters is different, but you'll find yourself spamming a blitz attack, which is double forward and normal attack, plus a special to move down most of the big mobs of enemies in the game. Which is something that makes it feel like the game is going on autopilot, even though you still have to pay a little bit of attention. But it cheapens the experience, in my opinion, when there are too many enemies on screen and you have to play like that. With a character like Axel, you definitely have to, because he can't keep up in terms of movement with the enemies, especially on Mania Plus. You have to do that when there's a lot of enemies on screen. So in that sense, that's definitely one of the things I like the least. Because they could have gone with another system for the specials. Like, they completely abandoned the system they had in place in Streets of Rage 3, which was very interesting, because it allowed you to perform a special without using any health, as long as you waited for the meter to fill up. Or maybe you can actually argue that this system in place is a mix of Streets of Rage 2 and 3. Because to be honest, the way the life bar replenishes itself when you hit the enemies back, it can remind you of the special bar in Streets of Rage 3 in a way. So yeah, maybe it's a mix of the two games in this sense. Now another aspect I really not a fan of is the art style, because don't get me wrong, the graphics are very good. They're on par with the graphics and animation. Animations are pretty good. They're on par with Street Fighter 3, except these graphics are HD. But what I don't really like is the art style, honestly, because it doesn't feel very reminiscent of the old Streets of Rages, at least to me. Also, I'm not a fan of some character designs. They had some weird choices when it comes to redesigning some characters. Like, for example, the old biker enemies that started appearing in Streets of Rage 2. Here they have redesigned them, and now they are all chicks. It's a biker gang of all chicks. There are no guys for some reason. Which I think it would have been better if they made like both biker guys and biker girls, just to have an extra enemy. The enemy variety is decent. They could have done better, but like I said, my biggest problem is with the art style. Also, I don't really like the design of the Kubos, which are the cyborgs. I don't know, they just look weird and kind of lame. So the graphics are very good. The animations are very good. It's just the art style that doesn't sit that well with me. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. They should have gone with a different art style. Maybe they should just have hired someone from Japan to do the art. I don't know, but definitely that's something that if they ever make a sequel, they should do differently. Now, another thing I don't like is the fact that there are no different paths like there were in Streets of Rage 3 or the Streets of Rage remake, because Streets of Rage remake goes with the different paths in the story. That's a pretty nice feature because it makes the game more replayable. But this one, no, it just sticks to a single route. And I mean, I guess it's okay. I just wish they had more stages to play, because it makes the game more replayable. And also, I mean, it's just interesting because I think an interactive story is definitely more interesting in the long run compared to just fixed stages. But maybe that's just me. Another good thing this game does is the training system, the training stage, because you can actually go into training and practice your character's moves, some strategies against enemies. The training option is actually pretty in-depth. It's definitely, I think this is definitely something most games where you have combat, so games like Devil May Cry, Ninja Gaiden, or for example any game that requires you perform any move with some kind of timing. I think all these types of games should have a training system in place like this one, because it's very in-depth. The combat itself is not on the level of I don't know, let's say the complexity of a Street Fighter, but it is still pretty complex. You can do some pretty nice combos. This game is like the perfect example of easy to pick up but hard to master, because you can actually go pretty ham when it comes to combos. and get pretty stylish. And it's something that I think they did a very good job with. Also, the big focus on combos, because as you can see, the game will tell you how many hit your ongoing combo is, and the more hit you perform, the bigger your score will be when you cash out. But it's mostly it's based on damage. So the more damage you do, and the combo will go higher, and the font will become warmer. So it starts with the cold colors and goes up to red, because it means the combo is very high damage. So it's not just based on the number of hits, it's on damage. The more damage you do, the more points you will have when you cash out. And if you get hit during the period where the combo is still active, you lose all your damage that you have been accumulating, and all the points you will have cashed out, which is a nice risk and reward mechanic, because the game played on the highest difficulty is actually pretty hard. Like, I'm not the best player, for sure. There are pretty good players on YouTube I've seen. But I am good enough that I'm able to beat the game on Mania Plus without losing a continue. I lose a few lives, yes, in a full playthrough of all the stages. But I think I actually did upload one of my playthroughs last year with Axel with his default moveset. And yeah, I think I did pretty good, even though, like I said, I'm not the best player, but I'm good enough to be confident in my skills. So because this game has received quite a lot of support during the years. They have released various patches, fixed bugs, and rebalanced characters. So it's like a fighting game, like a Street Fighter. They're constantly releasing patches. Now I don't know if they are done with the patches. Probably yes, but I'm not sure. But in this sense, they have supported it for sure. So no complaints in that sense. It's not just a game they have released once and completely abandoned. So props to the devs for that. And in fact, they also have added a survival. There is a survival in one of the latest updates. Like, it was like 2 years ago, I think, which was the DLC Mr. X Nightmare, where they added the new moves for all the characters, plus the new characters, like the boss characters. They were DLC, I think. So characters like Estelle, Max, Shiva, and so on. So yeah, I think I've said everything I wanted to say about this game. The game, like I said, the game is very fun. If you like fighting games, any type of fighting game, even just 1v1 fighting games, I think this game is worth playing, because it can be pretty technical, but also it can be a fun game just to play mindlessly with one of your friends. Because it also has both online co-op, but also offline co-op. You can play up to 4 characters in couch co-op. Online it's just 2, but it's still pretty fun, I think. Sadly, I've never had anyone to play it with, but I definitely recommend it, especially if you have someone else to play with. And maybe, I mean, who knows, maybe you'll get into it and you'll start to want to learn the combos and all that stuff. Who knows? You never know. It also should be very cheap, because the game is 4 years old at this point. So you'll probably find it for $10 at the most. One last mention is the music, which I don't think is as good as the old titles. Maybe it's on par with Streets of Rage 3. because Streets of Rage 3 was kind of weak. It's kind of a weak game in general. Because they probably felt the need to do something different compared to Streets of Rage 2, because Streets of Rage 2 is kind of a retread of Streets of Rage 1, so maybe they felt the need to do something different with 3 to not have just another game that felt the same in terms of story and music. So the music and the vibe is a bit off in Streets of Rage 3. And the music in this one is the same, I think. Some tracks are decent, some tracks are meh. Yuzo Koshiro did one track for this game. Made one track for it's the first stage, I think. Others are a bit hit and miss, but it's not a bad soundtrack for sure. So yeah, this is it for Streets of Rage 4. Let me know your thoughts, if you have played it, if you like it, if you wanna pick it up eventually, and all that nice stuff. But yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.